Do you ever feel like you're stuck in this box and it's like there's no creative thinking going on? Or how about is the school team not even trying to think outside of the box? Well, we're going to be talking all about problem solving today. And this is a technique, a strategy that you can use in school meetings with doctors and therapists when you're talking to them. For a family meeting, kids can learn to use this problem solving process in the classroom for like class meeting time. So it has a lot of uses, not just when there's concerns between parents and the teachers and how well your child is doing at school. So, welcome to our live show. I see we've got some new viewers with us live. So, if you don't know me yet, I'm Charmaine Tanner. I'm a parent, a retired teacher, an advocate, and author of a #1 best-selling book on Amazon. And I'm here every Thursday at noon Mountain Time so we can dialogue, we can share, we can brainstorm, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. So if you are watching on the replay, know that you can still type in questions and comments, and I'll come back and answer them. If you're here with us live, let us know where you're watching from, and we shall get started. So, what I like about this process that we're going to talk about today is that it really does help you get unstuck. It helps you get into that out of the box thinking. And as a result, it helps build more positive relationships and community wherever you're using this. So if you're using it at the school, it builds community among the adults, among the kids, to work together. So it is just like such a positive strategy. I love when we can find tools like this. So let's continue on here. So the process that we're going to be talking about today is called the solution circle. And before we get into that, I also want to tell you that if you stay to the end, we're going to share 4 questions that you can ask during an IEP or an ARD meeting or anywhere else that will help the group get unstuck from that negative thinking. So I hope you'll stay tuned because that is like super gold, right? 4 questions that you can always ask in any situation. When we look at the solution circle, this is something that Marsha and Jack Pearpoint developed. Unfortunately, Marsha is no longer with us, but her legacy lives on as far as all the wonderful positive ways of looking at people, looking at situations that she brought us. The solution circle is just one of those. And like I said, it helps get you unstuck. It helps build community. You would have a small group of people to do this, usually like 6 to 10 is kind of a good size. One person's going to be the facilitator. One person's going to be the recorder. You have the focus person, who is the person that's going to be presenting and explaining the problem or a concern. And the neat thing about this is there's 5 steps, and each step you time it for 6 minutes. So you can get through the whole problem solving strategy or session in 30 minutes, which is also good, right? Because we don't have a lot of time to wait around and kind of waste our efforts, right? So tell me that you're here with us live. Give us a heart or a thumbs up. Let me know where you're watching from, and let's go in. The other thing I wanted to quickly tell you is if you want the show notes from today's live show, just type the word solutions in the comment box, And my IEP bot will come back to you and will get you those show notes. So that is always handy to have. And in this week's show notes, I'll also include the slides from our show here. So I said there's 5 different steps to the solution circle. The first step is that somebody is going to present the problem. And remember, they have 6 minutes to do this. So they need to be concise, but also 6 minutes is actually a good amount of time. Then the team is going to go into a brainstorming mode, into having a conversation, some back and forth dialogue. You're going to pick some next steps to do, a mentor, a volunteer to help you. And then at the end of the session, there's going to be 6 minutes to do some reflection. So let's first look at this quotation that I really like from Richard Branson, the entrepreneur. And he says, solving problems means listening. And this has been one of my personal and professional goals, is to be a better listener. So many times when we're sitting in meetings, especially when they're kind of emotionally charged, it's so easy to be thinking ahead of, like, I can't wait till they stop talking because I'm going to say this to them. Instead of sitting back and taking that moment to really reflect and to try to really understand what that person is saying. So when you're doing any kind of process, when you're in any kind of communication, if it's just a communication, discussion with your husband or wife, you want to make sure that you spend that time to really listen. And that's an important component of the solution circle. So what happens is that focus person presents a problem, a concern, an issue for 6 uninterrupted minutes. And what's interesting, I don't think I showed you this. What's interesting with the process is even if they stop talking after 6 minutes and they presented the problem, the integrity of this strategy is to just wait in silence until the 6 minutes is up. And that is just to honor the person, to give them time to think, see if there's anything else that they want to add. So that's the job of the focus person. While the focus person is presenting the problem and explaining it, the facilitator is going to be the timekeeper. And the facilitator also helps the team members remember that it's just the focus person's 6 minutes, and there's no interruptions, there's no questions or comments. And then the recorder takes graphic notes, and the rest of the team listens. And of course, the facilitator and the recorder are going to be listening too. So I don't know if you're familiar with graphic notes. They are like so cool. If you've ever had a path or a maps process done for your child, you will recognize, this is a good color illustration, some of the, and I always have to figure out where I am. So instead of narrative notes or bullet points, both Marsha Force and Jack Pearpoint and a lot of other people doing person-centered planning process talk about the benefits of doing graphic notes. So instead of just this verbal and written thing, we start using the other side of our brain and we start tapping into that. And that's the part that really brings out more creativity. So that can be really helpful. And there's neat books, and I can put them in the show notes about, when I was first being trained to be a facilitator and then a recorder, it's I can't draw. But there's some good resources of just real simple shapes that you can do. But the graphic notes are usually on a big piece of bulletin board paper or big flip charts. So they're up for everybody in the team to see. And it makes it, I don't know, I think it makes it more of a fun process when you're doing it that way. So that's your first step, and that's going to take those first 6 minutes. So the second step is going to be brainstorming. And I love this quote. It says, the best way to have a good idea is to have lots of ideas. And, I think about how important that is. I know I was recently in an IEP meeting, and we were looking at a situation that, was kind of, I don't know, touchy because it involved staff and the demeanor of staff. And so the special ed coordinator came back, and she had talked to the director, and she came back with 3 different options that the district was willing to do. And what was so nice is that we just continued the conversation. The mom talked about what was important for her son and what she thought was really critical. And I gave, some, suggestions too. And after maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, we had like 6 different options. And they were kind of like combinations of part of this first option and part of the third option. And it made a new option. So the brainstorming process can really be helpful. And that's the part that I think gets missing in IEP meetings. We don't, we're so rushed to get everything done and the boxes filled in that we don't have time to think outside the box. And it really hurts the creativity and the solutions that we can come up with. So let me know if this is making sense. Cynthia says solution. And Angela is here with us, and she also says solution. So yeah, so hopefully you got a message from my IEP bot. So during the brainstorming session, let me go to the next slide here. This is the time that the focus person is going to be listening. And it's interesting with this process that you have a time where the other members are brainstorming and talking and not the focus person. And I think this is part of that kind of give and take. Like when the focus person was describing the problem, all the other team members sat and listened and honored their voice. And now the other team members get to brainstorm and bounce ideas off of each other, and the focus person is the listener. Again, the facilitator is going to be the timekeeper because this is this step is also a 6-minute step, and the recorder continues to take those graphic notes. So when we go to the third one, we're going to be talking about a dialogue that's going to be happening. So we want to remember to be brave enough to start a conversation that matters. I know it can be, stressful when you're at school meetings, especially if there's some kind of disagreement between the staff and yourself. But we just can't, bury this under the rug, right? Or sweep it under the rug. We want to have that courage to speak up and say, this is something that is really important and we need to talk about it. So during this step, the focus person has listened for 6 minutes to those brainstorming ideas. And the focus person selects 2 or 3 ideas that they think would probably be something that they want to try next. The focus person leads the dialogue and the conversation. So here is when you can get clarification, you can ask questions back and forth. Everybody is talking. The facilitator can join in, the recorder can join in, as long as they're still doing their job as far as keeping time and doing the graphic notes. So this dialogue period, this dialogue step lasts for 6 minutes. So look at how good we're going. So Cynthia says, yes, this is a great way to help teams be more collaborative and effective. Exactly. I love that, Cynthia. Thank you. Because that's what we need. We get so stuck in kind of the formality of meetings sometimes that we don't allow time to come up with other ideas that could be really helpful. So then looking at the next step where we're going to actually have to do something, right? Take some kind of action. Here's a quote. It says, it's not about ideas. It's about making ideas happen. Because I think we've probably all been to meetings where we walk away and we feel maybe warm and fuzzy. And it's like, yeah, but what's going to happen tomorrow in the classroom? And how is this going to change? So you have to be cognizant of there's going to be some kind of action planning that has to also happen in order to make this a really productive meeting. So for the action steps, what happens is the whole group selects the first step to be completed in 3 days. And you want to really make sure that that beginning baby step happens within 24 hours. And this is based on Marsha Force and Jack Pearpoint's research as far as if we don't take some kind of action within 24 hours, chances are it's not going to happen. So that's really important with the keeping the integrity of the solution circle process. The other thing is a volunteer from the group is going to connect with that focus person in 3 days and just do a check-in and see what has happened, if they need any support in any way. And of course, during this step, the facilitator is going to still be timekeeping because this step also lasts for 6 minutes. The recorder is still taking the graphic notes. So this is when, you had time for the focus person to present the problem. Then there was the brainstorming time, the dialogue time. And during the dialogue time, the focus person picked, 2 or 3 ideas that they thought might really be helpful. And then when you get to this next step, where it's the first steps and, kind of the action part of it, then the whole group weighs in on what do you think would be a good beginning? What would be a good baby or first step to take? And usually it's the focus person that takes that and develops that and kind of runs with it. Now we know that when we're working with kids, it's not just one person's responsibility, right, to be able to say, I'm going to fix this classroom environment, or I'm going to change the demeanor of the staff. And we know that it's going to take a team effort. So I really like the action plans where you list, who is going to do what by what time, and then the group can reconvene later and see, what got accomplished, what maybe some of the, brick walls were that you ran up against or something. So now you've spent 25 minutes in the process. The last 5 minutes of the process is also important. And here we have a quote that says, never be afraid to say what you really feel. And when we're at the, now I'm getting all these little things. When you're at the, oops, I didn't show that. When you're at the time where you're getting closure in your meeting, this is a time where it's really helpful to just have a go around and people can, spend a minute or so reflecting on what the process was like. And share their feelings, because this also gets in touch with another area in our whole being. So we're not just focused on logical kind of thinking, but to come back around to, that other part, like I said, that's really important. I think that we need to recognize, and that's how we're feeling. And, it can be, I'm still feeling confused. It can be, I'm so excited. I can't wait to start this. It can be, feeling like, thank you. We finally found a way that we can really collaborate and listen to each other. So during this time, that last 6 minutes, each member is just going to kind of reflect on the process. The facilitator is still the timekeeper. And at the end, the recorder gives the graphic notes to the focus person. So when we've done person-centered planning sessions for my son, like we did a map session when he was in elementary, we did a path when he was in high school and college. Those bulletin board papers full of graphic notes are like presents. They're really cool to have and to save and to go back and look at and say, ooh, look at where we were and what we've, how we've come about. So this solution circle, like I said, was developed by Marsha Force and Jack Pearpoint. If you want to get the show notes, and I'll also include the slides with it, just type the word solutions in the comments, and you'll get connected to my IEP bot. Then you'll just have to respond by typing the word solutions again, and we'll get connected so we can email you next Tuesday the show notes. So the other thing I have is a handout from another organization about, it's always hard to tell, about solution circles. I'll include that in the show notes, and also some other resources that you can tap into. So let me know, do you have any questions? It's like, how would this really work? Hey, Ainsley. Ainsley is from Georgia, and she's with us live too. So, and Diana is here. So, hey, Diana. And I know, I was going to say, like, this is just like this quick overview. And I do have a membership group that what we can do is dive into topics like this in more depth. So I'm hoping that by having that membership group, we can take the time. We do monthly Q&As, a monthly strategy session, a monthly training. That's the time we can get more into the hows and the specifics. But I encourage you to ask any questions that you have in this Facebook group. And that's a chance that we can have some written back and forth conversation. And I just think that the more that we can even teach our kids problem solving skills and have that ability to grow those skills as they get older, that is like such a gift that we could give them. Hey, Terry. Terry's from Colorado, and she says, I wonder what follow-up would look like. And that's a great question, because, the reality is you're not going to solve, especially a huge problem that's been a problem for a number of years, in 30 minutes. I mean, that would be tremendous, but we don't have the power to do that. And so this solution circle is meant to be kind of that initial step to get unstuck, to build that capacity of community, to know that there's people on, for instance, for the school meeting, people in the school, the family, other people that know the student, that they have such capacity to bring to the table with such wonderful things. So the solution circle I see as that initial time to get unstuck and kind of get things opened up. And then you do want to schedule follow-up times. And, it just kind of depends on the situation. Sometimes you can, for the solution circle, for sure, somebody does the action within 24 hours. There's for sure a follow-up within those first 3 days. But then I think you really do want to schedule another meeting, and that could be 2 weeks away. It could be a month away. It kind of depends. But I think the more that we have time to sit down and especially kind of outside IEP meeting setting, to have conversations with people. And to make those connections. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Is that relationships. And so, oh, and you know what? The other thing is, I got to keep going because I told you I would tell you 4 questions to ask too. So I don't want to stop here. Shoot, I almost forgot. Okay, let me go back to sharing. So look at here. So these are such good questions. I just love questions. So this is how you can stop the negative thinking. So you can start follow-up meetings by saying something like, what are we doing well right now? The second question is, what could we be doing better? Third, what could we be doing differently? And 4, how can we, or what can we do now within the next 48 hours to start doing things better and or differently? So what I love about these questions is, like I said, this can be used, when you're having a conversation with a doctor or a therapist or a tutor. It can be a conversation you have at a family meeting. And I don't know, I was thinking like maybe I should, make these like little laminated cards and have these simple questions on it. And this would be kind of your cheat sheet to look at when you're at an IEP meeting. So if anybody wants little laminated cards with good questions to ask, let me know, because that might be a fun project I could do over vacation, right? But what I love is that we have a structured way to have some conversations that are going to make a difference. And I want to show, that's to remind you to type in solutions if you want the show notes. And I love this. And this is from 1994. It's like ages ago, right? It says, schools must become places where families feel wanted and recognized for their strengths and potential. And I didn't have that showing. So let's look at that again. Schools must become places where families feel wanted and recognized for their strengths and potential. And we know that you have so many golden nuances that you can share with the staff. And the more we can build those relationships, the more we can increase the person-to-person communication versus texting or emailing, the better off that team is going to be. So Ansley is saying that she loved that one. Yeah, so my hope is through our weekly Facebook Live shows that we can look at ways to lift each other up, to get re-energized, and to know we can keep going on. Like I said, I do have a membership group. If you're interested in that, just type, membership or something in the comments, and I can get back with you. Tonight, we have our open Q&A in our membership group, so that's a great time where parents can just bring any kinds of questions and we can really dive into them. So until next Thursday, and let me give you a heads up about what's happening next Thursday. I have two guests, an advocate and an attorney from Texas, and they're going to be talking all about that 8.5% cap that Texas had utilized as far as cutting back and how many students were really served in special ed, plus some new things that are still happening about funding and special ed services in Texas. So that will be a good show to tune into. If you would love to share this, I would love it, because I'm sure you know other parents or friends that can use this solution circle problem solving process. So until next Thursday, I shall see you. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll be back in touch. Bye-bye.